The Arizona Cardinals get a win, salvage their season for now, and the big question looms, Jacoby or Kyler? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals. I'm Alex Clancy. This is my show. Thanks for hanging out. Dude, wow. This team, wow. The wow is like four different wows in one, just overlapping on top of each other. So many things to discuss. The big question is looming, and while the season hangs in the balance and they've got an impossible task ahead of them, what we saw last night was something that we hadn't seen up until this point, regardless of win or loss. A complete game. A complete competitive output. And in the most dire of times, seeing that could could yield a rebirth in some form or fashion. Not saying they're going to make the playoffs, not saying anything like that. There's so much to discuss today and tomorrow before even thinking about Seattle. But even for those who are the most skeptical about this team, last night must have at least temporarily clamped your mouth shut. And we're going to discuss a lot of it today. Offensive line struggles. Talk about it in the final segment. That's the biggest bugaboo from last night, and it could loom the largest out of any storyline moving forward outside of quarterback. The 2025 draft class showed out last night. Not a great day for Monty Ossenfort haters. What's the opposite of truthers? Falsers? What's the opposite of truthers? Falsers? Maybe? Monty Ossenfort falsers? Stupid. But regardless, huge win. Now a big decision needs to be made. We're going to talk about the big win first because that is the actual tangible thing that we've experienced up until this point. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So, Jacoby Brissett, stellar. Defense, stellar. Marv and Trey, stellar. If there was like a choose your own adventure and you could actually choose how the game last night were to go, this is what you would have chosen. The Cardinals only gave 10 points on defense. They clamped a 30.8 points per game offense. CeeDee Lamb was almost irrelevant except for that one huge chunk catch on a broken play. George Pickens had a couple. Jake Ferguson wasn't fantastic, which I thought that he was going to be the killer. Javonte Williams looked okay. Overall, that was the most complimentary football we've seen until this point. I know it took a while. I know that also it is the opposite of what we saw coming out of the bye week last year, where they went to Seattle and just looked listless. And it's like, oh, you're on a 4-game win streak going into the bye. Oh, you actually can win, you make the playoffs and win the division. Oh, pfft. This was the opposite of that. The defense stole the show. Jacoby was great. Let's talk about the defense here for a second. Walter Nolen, first game in the NFL. Garrett Williams, first game back after 5 weeks on the shelf. Both, as I said, going into the game, and this isn't like Albert Einstein, big brain thing, but it's like, hey, those two dudes adding to the defense they have now could completely, unlock, I guess. I use that term a lot. I'm looking for something else, but can completely allow this defense to realize their full potential. Walter Nolen, no oh my God moments, no oh no, no oh no moments where he's like, oh no, yeah, he's not ready yet. The dude made an impact right away. Tackle for loss on Devontae Williams, and one of the most athletic moves we've seen from an interior defensive lineman for the Cardinals in years. Like it was a busted blocking protection play, but his closing speed was insane. Okay. He had a pass deflection, had a sack, had another tackle for loss. So 4 total tackles, 1 pass deflection, 1 sack. And then Calais right next to him, that will allow Calais to run more free. Like, imagine putting a 6'9", 300 whatever pound dude versus Walter Nolen, who has twinkled, like he runs like a 5'10" point guard with all of his brazen, strength and like the speed combined to it is insane. It allows, like, that's what I was talking about with Walter Nolen. Like, could he be the missing piece? It allows the edge rush guys to spring a little bit more when the interior of the offensive line has to, focus on the demon seed that is Walter Nolen in the interior next to Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson. Like, Josh Sweat had a couple of sacks. That was the most free he was able to run over the last month. And then on top of that, you put Garrett Williams in the backfield or in the, in the secondary with Will Johnson. It's like you're looking at the 1-2 punch for the next 5 years for this team. They're not going to have to draft. They've got their dudes already. Obviously, you will, and you can allocate those draft picks to other positions like offensive line, and then again offensive line. But the defense looked in sync. They turned the ball over 3 times. Like, this is what you wanted from day one for this defense. And unfortunately, there were some injuries. Garrett Williams is far more important than people think he is. Like, you're putting Will Johnson out there as a rookie to be the bona fide CB1 pretty much right out the gate. And he's been the highest rated defensive rookie in football. He had the great pass breakup on CeeDee Lamb. He had a great tackle for loss on, I think it was either CeeDee or somebody else. I can't remember. Like, this is the ball hawking defense that you expected this defense to be when you threw all that money into it this past offseason and in the draft. And when everybody's healthy, it's amazing what happens. I will give my, everydayers all the credit in the world. In the comments, regardless of what it is, positive, negative about this team, nobody mentions injuries, which is great. If I were to have tweaked exactly what we wanted here, like, it's not an excuse. Go do it. And now that they actually have their dudes back against a team that was putting up over 30 points a game, you hold them to 10, and one of them was a touchdown late, like, pretty good. Not terrible. Now, moving to the offense, okay? I'm going to do more of a Kyler or Jacoby tomorrow to start the show. That's not what this is about today. This is about winning the game and keeping the season alive and how they won. And they won on Monday Night Football in Dallas. Like, I know the defense isn't great for Dallas. It doesn't matter. The Cardinals needed to get a win, and they got one against a team that I think they're 8-1 in the last 9 against Dallas, which is a weird anomaly of a stat. Jacoby Brissett plus Marv plus Trey plus Michael Wilson equals yes. Quick, I'm going to give you 5 seconds. How many targets do you think that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride got combined last night? 19. Marvin Harrison Jr., 10 targets, man. Trey McBride, 9 targets. It's what we've been waiting for. I'll say it. It's what we've been waiting for. Marv with the quick twitch, just, oh my God, making Deron Bland. I said this on the show last night. Making Deron Bland fall like he's a character in Toy Story when the kids come into the room. Just crumbled. Like, there's so much talent on this offense. Truly. Michael Wilson screaming across the middle on the crossing route and almost broke it, but he ended up, gaining 50. Greg Dortch, I know the majority of it was in the kick return game, special teams. He was great. Give the Cardinals a bunch of short fields, comparatively speaking, out closer to the 40. Fantastic. Bam Knight got involved. Like, the passing game was humming. And the crazy part is, it looked like early on Jacoby Brissett was in line to throw the ball like 50 times. I think he got to 32 or 31 or 32. Like, that's like, oh, well, it's still 31 times. Yeah, he was throwing the ball 45 times 2 weeks ago or 2 games ago. It means the offense was competent and humming, and the defense was doing their job. They were turning the ball over. They could have had 5 turnovers. Mac Wilson intercepts that punt, pretty much is what it was. and the Cardinals fall on the fumble from George Pickens on the far side of the field. Cardinals have 5 turnovers on top of the 5 sacks when they got home against Dak Prescott. Like, this was masterclass is something that is dumb to say. This was the closest thing to the dominant performance that we were hoping this defense would show this season so far. That's even including, against the Saints week 1, where they only gave up 13 points, I think. And they didn't fold in the fourth quarter. Overwhelmingly, the best performance by this team so far this year in a game where it's like, okay, if you lose, the season's over. And the season very well may be over now, okay? But it's not yet. It's like fantasy football players, say you're like, oh man, I just squeaked into the playoffs. I'm probably going to get blown out in the first round, but at least I'm in. It's much better that than not being in the playoffs at all. And I'm saying not with the Cardinals in the playoffs specifically. I'm saying being in it still, having a chance still. When your 5 losses were 13 points combined, you flip 2 of those, you're towards the top of the division looking, I guess the division is absolutely murder town USA, but they're in it still. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. The 2025 draft class showed out. Let's talk about it. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it, and that's where Built comes in. Built's changing the game by turning your rent payments into real rewards you can actually use. And when you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that you can redeem towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. Plus, Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Like, I love using Built because it allows you to have, rent finally work for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have to pay. To turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNFL. And listen, make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. All right. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. If you haven't checked out the Cardinal Squad Show from last night, it is live. So is my 15-minute instant reaction. It's really difficult to distinguish right now where the rose-colored glasses end and reality begins. So before we get to the 2025 class, all of them produced last night. Is this a facade that looks even better because they haven't won in 6 weeks, including the bye, which counts? I mean, it's like, they're just another week without a win, even though obviously they didn't play. Is it not a facade in the sense that, it was lucky? Because there was nothing lucky about that win. But is it a false sense of security that's kind of a rose in a dust storm where it's like, oh, that's pretty, and then smack back to reality on Sunday in the Pacific Northwest against Seattle? Because the Cardinals have been competitive every week. Haven't been blown out. They had a chance to beat Indy. They had a chance to beat Green Bay. They should have beat Tennessee. They should have beat San Francisco. They could have beat Seattle. This is the most Arizona Cardinals season ever. Amid the injuries, no James Conner, no Trey Benson, they're able to still be competent on offense. Is it a facade or is it real? And I'll just leave it there for now. I don't know. We're going to find out, Sunday in Seattle. But selfishly, it was very, very aesthetically pleasing and fun to watch a demonic defense and an offense that put up points, that got Marv involved, that got Trey involved. It was really fun to watch. And you saw Jonathan Gannon, the Amari DiMercato when he caught the edge and then got a first down and laid down inbounds, slid inbounds, and you saw the emotion from Jonathan Gannon. You've never seen that emotion from Jonathan Gannon after a win like that. Even in Philly, it wasn't the same. Yeah. So 2025 class, Monty Ossenfort haters. Woof. Tough one to choke down there. Walter Nolen, stud, balled out. Will Johnson, stud, balled out. Jordan Birch, very meaningful snaps. The Walter Nolen infusion into this defense will allow Jordan Birch to do his job also. He's kind of been in the background. He hasn't been a guy who's made impact like we saw during the preseason where it's like, oh, is this dude going to be the guy right away or a dude right away? It's going to take a little bit of time, but he's just another big body guy who can bull rush, and it's going to be a great compliment to what Walter Nolen brings in the middle of the defensive line. He's just another compliment. Like, he's got a different skill set than Josh Sweat and Baron Browning and Zaven Collins and Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson and Walter Nolen. You look at all those dudes, they've got completely different skill sets, which is a great problem to have where you're looking at your crayon box and it's like, oh, let's take this skill set and throw them together. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Cody Simon had a punch out. Denzel Burke had his best game as an NFL player. You had the clinching interception, but he had that great pass breakup against CeeDee Lamb on the third or the fourth and whatever. It was third and whatever, fourth. I think it might have been fourth down. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Role players, like secondary players, be able to produce because all the other stars are on the field. Let me explain. So when you have, and I always go back to basketball. So like the stud Lakers teams had Devin George starting in their starting lineup. And Devin George, all he had to do was play defense and shoot threes. And he was able to do it because that was his role, because everything else was handled. So in football, it's not exactly the same. But when you have Garrett Williams and Will Johnson and Max Melton locking dudes up, and you've got a bunch of DBs on the field, it allows Denzel Burke to have that safety blanket where he can just go make plays. And he's not brought in there to lock down CeeDee Lamb on his own. And it shows. If he's nobody's going to say that he's going to be a starting corner on this team right now, unless somehow Max Melton falls off. But let's be clear. They had Catrell Clark doing that for a couple of years. Denzel Burke has already shown he's got the acumen and skill set that far outweighs what Catrell Clark did. Does that make sense? So while Catrell Clark filled a hole when they had no talent on this team, and he played really hard, and he's still a special teams guy and all that stuff. Elijah Jones, who? Denzel Burke came in. He's just like, all right, I'm just going to go do the thing. But he had the luxury of having Garrett Williams, Will Johnson, Max Melton, Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson on the field with the pass rush as healthy as it's been all year. So him being a compliment, having to make a play or two a game, which he did, may be his role, and to not give up a big play, which he didn't. So that's a beautiful thing. That's a cohesive defensive unit where you don't really have a weak spot. Mac Wilson played well. ADG had probably his best game as a Cardinal. When everybody's doing their job and the stars are absolutely doing their job, it makes everything easier on everybody else because there's such a disadvantage to the offense when you have Walter Nolen and Calais Campbell in the middle, Josh Sweat screaming off the edge. Zaven Collins was screaming off the edge last night. And then you've got DBs who can cover for that extra split second that could allow Josh Sweat to get home or could allow Dak Prescott to make an errant throw that gets batted down. It all works in synchronicity. It's like a car engine. I know nothing about cars. It's like a car engine with all this stuff that all works. Hashtag analysis. The Arizona Cardinals defense is legit. And the best part about it, I'm not going to future pace much, but the best part about it is they're just getting started. Sure, you've got Calais who's older. Naturally, you've got Dalvin who's a little bit older. Josh Sweat is, 30, I think. Or Josh Sweat's 28. So he'll be 29 in March. So in all the key pieces, Garrett Williams, Walter Nolen, Will Johnson, Dadrian Taylor-Demerson for if they move off Jalen Thompson. Mac Wilson's still young. They've got young guys everywhere. Budda Baker is going to play for another 5 years. Budda Baker's going to play for another 5 years. and hopefully all with the Arizona Cardinals. I do think, and I've said this multiple times, I think he's going to play his last year in Seattle. He went to UW. I just think it would only make sense unless, he rides it out Kobe style with the Cardinals. I think Calais comes back next year. Like, this is a run-it-back scenario with this defense. You may want to add another edge rusher because you can never have too many. Maybe an off-ball backer. You take your second or third-round pick and draft one of the better off-ball backers. But the defense is ready to rip, and not just for this year, not just for next year, for multiple years to come. And that is a very, very important piece to have in a day and age where if you have a good defense, you're in games. It doesn't matter. You're in games. And it's just a matter of them loading up the offense like they did the defense this past offseason. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Drum roll, please. They got to draft 7 offensive linemen in the draft coming up. I say it tongue-in-cheek, but wasn't great last night. We'll discuss next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is in full swing, man, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps everything exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Excuse me, let me say that again. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Cardinals win. Everybody got a little tight after the Cowboys scored. It's under 10 minutes left, 10-point game. The first play of the next drive, free run to the quarterback, Jacoby Brissett gets sacked. It's like, oh no. I'm like, oh, not again, right? And after the sack, it's like, oh no. And then the defense just holds up. The offense held their own last night. This wasn't like, oh, the defense just did everything. But yeah, the one thing that needs to be sorted, like, I don't know what they can do. I mean, the trade deadline is in a couple hours from when I'm recording this. So if anything happens, we'll talk about it tomorrow, unless the unmentionable happens. But Jonah Williams, he's just not. They brought Beach in over to the right side. I'm assuming he's not normally in jumbo formations. He did get beat really bad once. And I never said that I think Kelvin Beachum is a Pro Bowl guy who should 100% be starting. I'm saying that he's a better option than Jonah Williams. That's all I said. He did get beat, but then he pulled and had a great block that sprung Amari DiMercato for a huge chunk run. Like, it's hard for offensive linemen to drop back and block in pass protection as much as they have been. It just is. And the Cardinals didn't address it during the draft. Well, I'm going to forget who Gray Zabel is if Walter Nolen is that. Like, all we've seen on social media is, oh, Walter Nolen, top 5, top 7 guy, can't believe he dropped to 16. Can't believe he dropped to 16. Will Johnson, can't believe he dropped to 16. Anyways, the offensive line is going to be a problem, and they're going to need to figure out how to address it. For those that are gawking at, oh, Tip Ryman, that was a wasted pick in the 3rd round a couple years ago. They could sure use him now because he's that tight end that would chip. He's that tight end that would be able to do this where running back is too small and the offensive linemen are aging and not as quick as they once were. Jadeveon Clowney looked like an all-pro last night. Dante Fowler looked like an all-pro last night. And it's only the right side. Paris Johnson did get beat once pretty bad last night, but the fact that you've got Jacoby Brissett, there should have been 8 sacks, and there were only 5. You just want him to stay healthy, because if you don't, if he goes down, like, this is, that's a wrap. I'm going to pause on that for the conversation tomorrow. I wanted to give this team's performance their flowers today before having all the clickbait conversations. We can do that tomorrow. Overall, if you were to pick one weakness that you can't have as your biggest weakness if you want to compete. It is the offensive line. So that's the Achilles heel of this team right now. What's a great counterpoint or a way to counteract a weak pass protection regarding the offensive line? Run the ball. Unfortunately, their two top running backs are out. So this is going to have to be, you just hope Jacoby Brissett can get rid of the ball fast enough, like with the deep drops, with the play action, letting plays materialize so you can get those chunk plays, obviously skyrockets the chance of a sack or of a pressure or whatever it may be. With that said, they've got to figure it out because Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy are not Jadeveon Clowney and Dante Fowler. Seattle's defense is insane. So I would suggest, you'd hope there would be some more very shallow routes like Greg Dortch, little slants, wide receiver screens, things like that, to be able to get the ball out fast so Jacoby Brissett doesn't get touched as much. Because, listen, man, this isn't sustainable. I don't care how big he is. This isn't sustainable. And they've got to figure it out. That needs to be public enemy number one for the rest of the week. That's to say if Jacoby Brissett does start on Sunday in Week 10. Should he? Should he? Will he? That's called a tease, baby. That's a cross-podcast tease. Chew on that. I was saying to Locked On Cardinals, remember, without you, there is no me. I will tackle the Kyler Murray or Jacoby Brissett conversation tomorrow. Talk to you then.